How Trump Wins the Debate and the Election. This is authored by Frank Miller via Real Clear Politics. It's a demeanor and stupid. The public already overwhelmingly supports Donald Trump on the issues. But what many of them worry about is his demeanor. In other words, does he act presidential? So on June 27, when Trump joins President Joe Biden on CNN for the earliest general election presidential debate in U.S. history, it's not going to matter what the former president says so much as how he says it. Think of it as the equivalent of a medieval knight running the gauntlet. Every question from pro-Democrat moderator Jack Tapper and Dana Bash, and every taunting response from President Biden about threats to democracy will be an opportunity for Trump to lose his temper or to alienate moderate voters with intemperate replies. But if Trump keeps his cool in hostile territory, and CNN is definitely hostile, he will pick up invaluable points in the Seems More Presidential survey that will certainly follow. The demeanor issue could certainly cement Trump as the winner, not just of the debate, but of the 2024 election itself. Of course, Biden and his team are betting that Trump cannot keep his cool. There are no doubts they're thinking about the first debate of the 2020 campaign, when Trump came across as a ferocious junkyard dog by constantly interrupting Biden and insulting him. That's exactly what the Biden campaign is hoping for this time around. And if their calculation is right, then the president may be able to ride his sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory persona to victory in the fall. Remember, this debate and another one in early September were proposed by Biden at a time when he was trending badly behind Trump in the polls, especially in battleground states. Presumably, the Biden campaign believed the early debates would shore up his support and hurdle him over the much indicated and now convicted former president. But that does not have to be true. All of the potential pitfalls for Trump are clearly marked with giant cartoonish neon signs of pointing fingers flashing the message, "Pitfall here, dummy." Even if Trump is distracted with his legal battles, hopefully his campaign team will make sure that he's prepped and ready to avoid each obstacle, such as making ambiguous jokes like dictator on day one, demeaning the elderly president as Crooked Joe, and talking more about himself than about the problems of everyday Americans. If Trump remembers to act presidential and not like an attack dog, there is every reason to believe that he will attract voters eager for a change. Ironically, that's partly because the Biden campaign's ground rules for the debate have the potential to work in Trump's favor. There will be no live audience for the debate, which Biden probably thought would rob Trump of the fuel he needs. He feeds his reality TV personality. In addition, microphones will be turned off for each candidate when they are not responding to the moderators. Both of those changes could help Trump avoid a repeat of the bullying performance that may have cost him the election in 2020. In addition, turning off Trump's mic will force Biden to complete his responses without making gaffes or getting lost in his addle-pated syntax, an opportunity Trump missed in the 2020 debate. Nonetheless, the moderators will have their sights set on Trump, whom they have criticized repeatedly on CNN. 3 topics are certain to be raised by Tapper and Bash: election interference in 2020, election acceptance in 2024, and Hunter Biden. It's essential that Trump be ready for them, and then, having successfully addressed them, demand that the moderators ask questions about substantive issues. Biden, on the other hand, just needs to speak coherently and lie about his record with certainty that the moderators will not ask any follow-up questions. Here are 3 examples of how Trump's responses to the most obvious questions can get him through the media minefield and closer to his objective and victory in November. The key in each case is to remain calm, relate his responses to the voters, and ignore the provocation tossed his way. 1. Mr. Trump, since the end of your term as president, you have become a convinced felon in the New York election interference case, face the additional 55 felony charges in 3 jurisdictions. In addition, a majority of senators voted after you left office to convict you of inciting an insurrection. Why do you consider yourself fit for office when the president is the chief law enforcement officer in the country? Jake, I'm glad you asked me that question. I don't want this debate to be all about me or even about my opponent. The American people want to hear me and Joe Biden discuss the hard issues facing the country, namely crippling inflation, out of control illegal immigration, and a world on the brink of war. But the people have a right to know that I maintain my innocence regarding all the charges brought by my opponents. It's a sad day when Democrat prosecutors will go to any length to destroy me and to prevent me from promoting the policies that will save this country. But it's not about me, it's about a corrupt system of justice that the people have lost confidence in. Donald Trump is not the first person to get caught up in a 2-tier system of justice. You can ask any black or Hispanic family whether they know someone who was railroaded into prison. They've lost faith, but I will restore that faith. Not only am I fit for office, but I am the first person to run for president who has experienced what black and minority families have known for decades, and I will fight for them. 2. Mr. Trump, after the 2020 election, you refused to accept the results even though more than 50 courts ruled against you. To this day, you call President Biden an illegitimate president, and you are currently under indictment for election interference. And now Americans want to know if you will accept the results of the 2024 election regardless of who wins. Dana, thank you for asking me that question. First of all, I need to correct you on one point, and I believe it's more than 60 courts, but none of them heard our evidence of election fraud by the Biden campaign and his surrogates. In other words, we were never given the opportunity to prove our case of election tampering, and the national media failed miserably in looking at the facts objectively. Just saying the election was safe and secure does not make it so. Everyone knows the media was out to get Trump, quote-unquote, and to protect Biden, quote-unquote, and in that regard, nothing has changed since 2020. But more importantly, as we look at accepting the November 5th election results, it's not relevant who wins the election. All that matters is that the election be conducted fairly and transparently. And Dana, you cannot guarantee that will happen. Earlier this month, Democratic officials in Connecticut were charged with election fraud, and there's no reason to believe the coming election will be any more fair unless it's completely transparent. No one should give up their right to look at the evidence and make up their own minds about the underpinnings of our democracy. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. 3. Mr. Trump, you continually claim that there is a 2-tier system of justice, but in recent weeks, the Biden Department of Justice has charged or put on trial New Jersey's Democratic Senator Bob Menendez, Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar, another Democrat, and President Biden's own son, Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden was convicted of 3 felonies and could be sentenced to jail time despite your attacks on the Attorney General and the President, who has said he will not pardon his son nor commute any sentence. Isn't it all about time that you admit that the American system of justice is fair and even-handed? Jake, this may be the most important question facing millions of Americans, even more important than whether they can afford to put food on the table, pay rent, or buy a home of their own, which many of them cannot. Of course, it's not up to me to pass judgment on the 3 gentlemen you bring up in your question. Everyone can make up their own mind about whether justice is served in those cases. But I guarantee you that millions of black and minority families don't trust the government to administer justice fairly, and the individual verdicts won't make them forget their own experiences, their own children or parents sent to prison for long sentences, their own struggles against a system that too often rewards those with money or a celebrity name. Nothing can make them forget how they and their families were overlooked by a system gone awry. As for Hunter Biden, I won't comment on his conviction on gun charges, but I will say that his story is an all too common American tragedy. My brother Fred was an alcoholic. His struggles with addiction mirror the experience of millions of Americans. I sympathize with the family of Hunter Biden and hope that he gets the help he needs. If former President Trump follows the example laid out in these mock questions and answers, the worries more about reassuring the public about himself than attacking his opponent, it's almost certain that he will also be future President Trump. And this is by Frank Millet, by Real Clear Politics, and it's on Zero Hedge by Tyler Durden. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.